on the spot. The National Film Board's up-to-the-minute report on what's going on somewhere in Canada.
This is Fred Davis speaking to you from Ottawa. In today's On the Spot assignment, we're going to see just what's behind the making of movies.
I think that'll do it. Keep it a good, firm, strong shot as the fire engine goes out the station. Would you say that? Okay, fine, Bob. Good.
Bob, this word documentary, what would you say is the difference between a documentary film and a feature movie?
Well, there are a good many differences. One would be length. Generally speaking, documentaries are a good deal shorter than feature films. Also, documentaries have something to say in the way of a message. They are informational films.
Au commencement était l'ennui. Et l'ennui s'est incarné dans le documentaire. Aujourd'hui, de nombreux films documentaires reposent dans les voûtes poussiéreuses d'archives cinématographiques. Ces documents ont été réalisés dans les années 30, 40 et 50. Personne ne les a vus depuis et personne ne veut plus les voir. Ce sont eux qui ont donné mauvaise réputation aux films documentaires.
Une échelle qui comporte 2 sections ou plus s'appelle une échelle à coulisses. Il faut être 2 pour s'en servir. Celle-ci est en 2 sections et mesure 32 pieds. Je vais maintenant en énumérer les différentes parties.
Or, les choses ont changé. Aujourd'hui, les caméras vidéo sont omniprésentes et tout le monde est devenu documentariste. Nous sommes inondés d'images de la réalité dans l'univers des 500 chaînes de télé.
Okay, he's turning left. No, he's running.
Grâce à la toile cybernétique, une nouvelle programmation est devenue possible. Ainsi, de partout au monde, on peut voir l'endroit précis où le président Kennedy a été assassiné. La caméra, placée dans l'angle de vision d'Oswald, diffuse des images en direct tous les jours, 24 heures sur 24. L'illusion de la réalité est donnée par l'image vacillante d'une caméra à l'épaule. On se sert de la référence documentaire pour donner du réalisme à des films de fiction, à des messages publicitaires et à des vidéoclips. La plupart des émissions de télévision que nous regardons aujourd'hui s'inspirent de la rébellion de la fin des années 50 et du début des années 60, alors que, se débarrassant des trépieds et des scénarios, une nouvelle vague de cinéastes s'attaqua au documentaire à l'ancienne. Ils synchronisèrent des caméras légères à des magnétophones portables et se mirent à tourner avant même de rédiger un scénario qu'ils découvraient dans la salle de montage. Cette idée allait révolutionner le documentaire. Leur révolution prit le nom de cinéma vérité. Nous allons voir comment une poignée de cinéastes contestataires, armés de nouveaux outils et d'idées radicales, a modifié notre façon de voir le monde.
That's the one that blew us all away, the decisive moment, like Cartier-Bresson. He was really our god, if you were to call it that, or our saint.
Bon, quand est-ce qu'on appuie? Là, 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 là. Comment l'émotion monte et puis tout d'un coup, hop, ça y est. C'est comme un orgasme un peu. Il y a un moment où ça éclate et puis ou on a le bon moment ou alors c'est raté.
Cartier-Bresson est l'un des plus grands photographes du monde. Après s'être passionné dans sa jeunesse pour la chasse aux fauves, il décida un jour de plutôt tourner sa mire vers les êtres humains. Son livre, Le moment décisif, paru en 1952, présentait des images percutantes empreintes d'humanisme. Pour un petit groupe de cinéastes canadiens, son œuvre fut à la fois une source d'inspiration et un défi.
Their gateways or their windows. He creates these windows. This piece of luck. I'm sure it was luck. That foot hasn't touched the water, but it's beautiful.
Le hasard a été quoi? A été généreux. Chance, malchance, je sais pas. Ce qui est très curieux, c'est le hasard, c'est les coïncidences et tout ça.
We said we could do this in film. These are great. This man is famous. He can do good things, and he brings enlightenment to the masses. Isn't that our job too? So shouldn't we be able to do this in film? Okay, let's give it a try.
Avec le soutien de l'Office national du film du Canada, nous nous sommes donc lancés à la recherche des auteurs de cette révolution du cinéma vérité. Notre petite équipe comprenait le recherchiste Kirwan Cox, moi à la prise de son, l'intrépide Francis Miquet à la caméra numérique et différents collaborateurs rencontrés en cours de route. Nous nous sommes munis d'une seconde caméra baptisée la Kirwan Cam, qui nous servait de journal de bord et de caméra d'appoint pour les entrevues.
Si on arrête, on pose la caméra.
Dans les années 50, plusieurs cinéastes travaillaient à libérer la caméra documentaire du lourd matériel nécessaire à la prise de son synchrone. Ce nouveau style de cinéma prit plusieurs noms. Free Cinema en Angleterre, Candidai au Canada, Cinéma Direct aux États-Unis et au Québec, et Cinéma Vérité en France. Nos rencontres commencent avec Carol Rice, jadis auteur de documentaires qui réalise aujourd'hui des longs métrages à gros budget. Rice, Lindsay Anderson et quelques amis ont lancé le mouvement du Free Cinema ou cinéma libre dans les années 50 pour protester contre le contenu moralisateur des documentaires britanniques de l'époque.
Carol Rice. You know, as far as the pleasure of filmmaking is concerned, of the surprises, what happens during the day, how it grows during one, and there's nothing like documentaries, because it is so unplanned, it is so uncontrolled. It's when you finish the film that the trouble begins, because nobody wants to see it. We ran a series of programs at the National Film Theatre under the title of Free Cinema. It was really an attempt to take on the commercial cinema with an alternative tradition, with small-scale, director-led filmmaking. I mean, it was a movie that cost, I think, £300, you know, 16mm film. We shot it on 6 Saturday evenings at the club. It was scenes from provincial life. It wasn't a great work of art or anything, but it was responding to something very lively and new in the zeitgeist. And the impact was immediate and amazingly strong. I mean, the critics took it up and praised the movies with ludicrous extravagance, simply because they had changed the rules. Now, We're the Lambeth Boys was a real jump forward from the previous documentaries because it had synchronous sound. Let's say dialogue, synchronous dialogue.
Hey, Ma! He's hopeless.
No, he's not.
He's hopeless, don't he? Tommy Steele! Hey, look at Tommy Steele.
Shut up, you.
Not synchronous dialogue in the sense of staged dialogue scenes, but shooting in the documentary spirit, that is to say, finding things that interest you and making up the movie out of the things that happened.
No, that was just a look on. All right. See that boy played 1 and 6 of that, and I come down on the slope and
So it was absolutely the opposite of the scripted, the conceived, the planned, the argument-led documentary. It was wanting what you got rather than going out to get what you want, if you see what I mean. The films had no arguments, they had no polemic, they had no conclusions. They were asking for the audience to identify with the detail.
Well, that's one kind of film. Here's another.
Nous voilà chez Richard Leacock dans sa ferme du XVIIe siècle située près du Mont-Saint-Michel. Leacock, maintenant âgé de près de 80 ans, réalisait des films muets avant que l'avènement du film sonore ne vienne lui compliquer la tâche.
So we had a station wagon full of car batteries. The camera was a Bell & Howell studio camera with a synchronous motor, and it would go yung, 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 zzz, and you'd yell speed, and the sound man would yell speed, and the guy with the knob would adjust the 60, say, okay, 60 cycles, and okay, you can shoot, and then clapstick, Richard Leacock, most of the time. The new news reporting potential of the mobile camera, the sync sound, was electrifying. And we had a whole bunch of rules. We were shooting handheld, no tripods, no lights, no questions, never ask anybody to do anything.
This is an incredible place.
Wow. So if you want to get shook down, I'll do some cooking.
Okay, great.
Leacock, qui a été élevé dans une plantation de bananes aux îles Canaries, est un cinéaste complet. Il a passé sa vie entière à chercher un moyen de rendre ses films de plus en plus personnels et de moins en moins industriels. Avec sa compagne Valérie, il travaille maintenant en numérique.
I made my first movie when I was 14. Canary Bananas. Have you seen it? Let's give us the tour. Come upstairs. So in 14 minutes, I told you all you need to know about growing bananas in the Canary Islands. There's a nifty sequence. I like this one here. The stump of an old banana tree is planted, and out of it grows a young one. Here's the stump cut. That's a nifty cut between the guy's legs. And I think my obsession has been and is still the feeling of being there. Not of finding out this, of analyzing this, of performing some virtuous social act or something. Just what's it like to be there? And that's Robert Flaherty, 3 days before he died.
En 1922, Flaherty avait construit son récit du réel en se servant d'une trame dramatique qui fit de Nanook of the North un classique du cinéma documentaire. En 1948, Flaherty embaucha comme caméraman Leacock pour tourner Louisiana Story, son dernier film. Le jeune cinéaste apprit énormément de son mentor.
I had to run the projector. He screened rushes over and over and over again until I was going crazy. Why is he looking at this stuff over and over, even bad stuff? God's sakes, what's the matter with this man? And he would look and look and look and look until he figured out either how to reshoot it, how to redo it, another approach, or how to use it. He knew every single frame. So along came this guy, Roger Tilton, who I didn't know from Adam, and said he wanted to film young people dancing in a hall in New York. Everyone had told him the only way to do this is with the big cameras, the big sound machines, and clapsticks and the whole thing. And he said no. I'll never forget that night. I fell in love 20 times. It was wild. I was standing on tables, jumping around on the floor, all over the place. Just shooting, shooting, shooting. And it was freedom. Screw the tripod. Screw the dollies. Screw all the stuff. You can move. And once you start shooting with sync sound, it's very different. And in a sense, much more complicated. You don't have this freedom of doing what you did yesterday, mixing with this, with that, the other thing.
Nous avons rendez-vous avec Bob Drew, un pionnier du cinéma vérité, et sa compagne Anne, dans leur maison studio au nord de New York. C'est la démarche de Drew qui est à l'origine du cinéma vérité aux États-Unis. Après avoir travaillé comme journaliste au magazine Life dans les années 40 et 50, Bob Drew cherchait à donner vie aux photos de Life et à les faire passer à la télé.
Oh, you're shooting, okay.
Yeah.
Tweak the lighting there. Almost like a computer.
Oh my God.
A little computer disc. I'll show
Bob, look at this.
This is like a little, almost like a recorder or the tape?
It's the tape. One day the recorder will be that big.
Yeah, great. Okay, this is Bob Drew, Clapsticks. It was my idea that television journalism should be more human and spontaneous and more involving. And I'd made a film for NBC and Time Inc.
Magazine X.
I'm standing on the bank of the first taconite mine in the North Country.
After I'd made it, I didn't like it. There was something wrong with it.
14 miles.
It shouldn't have taken a year at Harvard to figure this out, but the reason my program was dull, and the reason all documentaries were dull, basically, mostly, is that they were lectures.
That is, they were lectures with picture illustrations or interviews, which is the same thing. That real life never got out of the film, never came through the television set. And that we would have to drop word logic and find a dramatic logic in which things really happened. If we could do that, we'd have a whole new basis for a whole new journalism. Which is kind of hard to define, but I'll try.
Yeah,
it would be a theater without actors. It would be plays without playwrights. It would be reporting without summary and opinion. It would be the ability to look in on people's lives at crucial times from which you could deduce certain things and see a kind of truth that can only be gotten by personal experience.
In order to do that, I would have to re-engineer the equipment of filmmaking to make it lighter and small enough that it could be portable. So I went to the Life magazine publisher and asked him to back me in making a film on weightless men. Why, he said. I said, because if I make this film the way I'm planning it, Ed Sullivan will run it on the Ed Sullivan Show. He'll hold up the Life magazine. You'll get exposure. You'll sell more Life magazines. It worked.
Cela a si bien marché que vers la fin des années 50, la société Time Inc. accepta de financer l'équipement léger dont Drew avait besoin. La révolution du cinéma vérité prit alors son essor. Bob Drew fonda sa propre maison de production et embaucha les meilleurs collaborateurs qu'il puisse trouver. Ensemble, ils créèrent une nouvelle forme de cinéma documentaire.
It took about a year to get that film equipment usable. And when it was finally usable, we could go out as a two-man team, a cameraman and a producer or a correspondent, which I was, and cover a story. And I had to pick the first story. And the first story I picked was a young senator running for president in Wisconsin. It turned out to be Primary, and Primary turned out to be a film that changed everything in the filmmaking.
What are your plans after tonight?
Well, continue on. The next primary, of course, is Indiana in the first part of May. Then I hit West Virginia, Maryland, and Oregon, and Nebraska, all in a short space of 2.5 weeks.
I'm very typical of those things. It makes good.
Nice smile, yeah.
Well, you wait a little while. I may smile even more.
We're going right into West Virginia.
Oh, sure.
Would you give me
Well, my goodness.
The voice of America, I'm always glad to say something for them. This has been a great election, and the people of Wisconsin are to be congratulated on their genuine interest in this election. This is the best voice that America can have when the people participate in their government and their politics.
Leacock and I were in a car with Kennedy and our new little camera rig. Kennedy jumped out of the car, ran across the sidewalk and into a building, and sat down before a photographer who carefully arranged his cuffs and so forth to shoot a picture of him.
Kind of intertwine the fingers a little. There, that's it, fine. That's it, just in there. And now let's
We got the whole sequence on film from beginning to end, characters and action and everything in between. And we didn't have to say anything.
Not time to smile yet, Wally.
We just knew we'd done something historic.
I was naive enough to think that there must be a small camera that would easily take sync sound and be quiet and all that. But it took $1 million of Drew's money that he got from Time and Life to develop that kind of equipment that would make it possible to carry a camera on your shoulder. And the camera would be quiet, the sound would be of excellent quality, would be in sync with the picture. You could let the story tell itself. That was the revolution that got us all excited.
On the Spot brings you How to Climb a Mountain.
Le problème de la synchronisation de l'image avec le son allait continuer de tourmenter les cinéastes du cinéma vérité jusqu'à ce qu'un Français trouve une solution ingénieuse. Cependant que l'équipe Drew avait astucieusement utilisé le mécanisme du Edmond Bulova, l'ingénieur cinéaste français Jean-Pierre Beauviala inventait la synchronisation au cristal, libérant ainsi la caméra du fil du magnétophone. L'invention de Beauviala connut un tel succès qu'il put quitter le cinéma et lancer sa propre entreprise, devenant le fabricant des caméras Aaton.
Aaton, comme on va le voir, a été fondé sur la suppression de la claquette. Or, comme je voulais me promener dans la rue, totalement indépendant, il fallait bien qu'il y ait une liaison quelconque pour à la fois la synchronisation du son et puis l'absence de claquette, justement. C'est comme ça que j'ai été amené à inventer le système quartz et le système du marquage du temps, ce qui permettait d'avoir l'image et le son d'une même durée, restant synchrone, pendant la durée du tournage. Mais ce système-là ne résolvait pas le problème du clap. Take one, take one. D'où l'invention de l'utilisation du temps comme métronome qui fait un clap en quelque sorte toutes les secondes. C'était ça l'idée, tout simplement. Et ce n'est que bien après, enfin, comme on va le voir dans l'histoire, si on a le temps, je ne sais pas, ça va se réduire à quoi, à 2 minutes, ce truc et on me montre cette caméra qui était effectivement silencieuse. Et alors je leur dis, oh là là, vous avez une caméra silencieuse, mais c'est fantastique, c'est exactement ce qu'il me faut. Où l'on donnait au geste instinctif ou immédiat, non réfléchi de l'opérateur, autant d'importance que ce qu'on donnait avant au point de vue juste. C'est-à-dire qu'avant, bon, ben là, on met une caméra, on me dit de me mettre là, de ceci, de jouer, etc. Alors que tout à coup, avec les caméras d'épaule, le principe du cinéma change, le principe même de l'improvisation. On sait bien, si je me mets loin de vous avec un zoom, je vous colle contre là-bas au fond. Si je me mets avec le même cadre et tout près de vous, je vous considère plus comme un groupe d'hommes et non pas comme des représentations de cinéastes.
What the world would lose if Canada suddenly disappeared.
L'équipe de Tom Daly à l'Office national du film remit le Canada au monde avec la série Can They Die.
So, is there any image available? And can you see anything in here? Isn't it too dark?
Well, I can see something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Le jeune Wintonick était garçon de ferme dans les années 1940 lorsqu'une équipe de tournage se pointa dans sa ville. Séduit, il s'enfuit de la maison et se retrouva à l'Office national du film. Artiste et philosophe, Wintonick a été l'un des meilleurs caméramans du cinéma vérité.
Wintonick, did you hear that?
Yeah.
The camera, like a Cartier-Bresson, doesn't matter if it's a motion picture camera or a stills camera, has to be open to the moments that reveal the thing you cannot otherwise see. The Christmas film, The Days Before Christmas, the trip with the Brinks truck, that was a situation. They went in and out to the different businesses and picked up the money and brought the money. When you're shooting a scene, you have to be terribly observant and listen very, very closely. And then it leads you. The camera is just led. You can't avoid it. Don't intellectualize. The intellect is the enemy. It's just a terrible enemy. What is cinema verite? I think it's in principle, it's theater. All documentary is theater. It's all manufactured. Every cut is a lie. It isn't really like that. Those two shots were never next to each other in time that way. But you're telling a lie in order to tell the truth.
Put your head on my shoulder. Hold me in your arms, baby. Won't you squeeze me once, baby? Tell me that you love me.
The camera is very important, obviously. If you've got no material to build your house with, you can't build your house. No structure there, there's no house. The string of pearls, and this beautiful woman, $50,000, and everybody says, gee, look at those pearls, 50,000 bucks. And nobody realizes there's a 5-cent piece of string in that. And that's the structure. It's really about the string, not about the pearls. Break the string and you've got these beads rolling all over the floor. There's nothing there.
Rebelle dans sa jeunesse, Roman Kreuter, rencontrant Wintonick, forma avec lui une équipe dynamique qui réalisa certains des films les plus mémorables et les plus originaux du NFB. Le style américain de cinéma vérité mis au point par Drew et Leacock visait à rendre le cinéaste aussi discret et invisible que possible. Les Canadiens, au contraire, se mettaient eux-mêmes en scène et le tournage devenait alors un élément du scénario.
Roman Kreuter. We had a screening for Paul and his manager at the film board. We had a cutting copy, and we were really worried that they would feel that it was kind of looking down our noses at them.
When did he go on? Oh, fellas, of all days to do this, geez. When did he go on?
He went on exactly 5 minutes ago.
Black shoes and stockings.
Black shoes and stockings? In there, Bobby. Right.
Well, if he went on 5 minutes ago, how come he's almost over?
There might be 5 shows today.
5 shows?
5 shows, because it's anything new, is it?
Give me my makeup from the bottle, wet the sponge, black. Okay. Wearing blue. Should have packed on a Tuesday?
That's right. Well,
it's impossible.
Well, look at the dull day today. You my wife?
No, you proceed.
Just forget they're even there.
Huh?
Just forget they're even there.
Okay.
Shoes.
Shoes.
Scalpel. Sponge. Sponge.
They yell for him? We want Paul.
You're plugged in, that's right. Are you?
Sure. Listen, I do this too much, gentlemen. From the Tribune. Feature writer.
That's it.
There's nothing in it that really is a put-down, I don't think. And they didn't at all. They were just delighted. They thought it was really super. So we were very pleased. It was a big departure for the film board to say, well, we won't see the script, and we don't know exactly what's going to come out, just know the subject.
Good afternoon.
Well, the thing that I remember about the Stravinsky film was that we were hoping he was going to die fairly soon. And I mean, he was very old. And so this trip across the ocean was, you know, kind of symbolic thing. Well, first of all, he didn't come out much because he was basically just stayed in his room and drank. He said, you know, I never get seasick, I get sea drunk.
You can finish the business. Give me your hand. Shake the hand. I shake your hand.
Thank you. It would not be possible for us to photograph a little more some of your conversation with Mr. Nabokov?
We'll talk Russian.
Yes, that would be marvelous. We would love to have some film of you talking Russian.
No, really?
Yes, it would be very good for us. Would you like to sit down, please, and be comfortable? Just forget us.
I didn't know that you wanted.
Yes.
I didn't know that you want. Do you want just a drop of scotch?
No, чудно.
Wonderful.
15, Ed Slate, second roll on Stravinsky.
Ах, какая.
Wonderful to see you.
Я не могу говорить, когда при этом стоят все эти аппараты.
Ну да, это аппараты, да. Я теперь к ним так привык.
Да, они за вами ходят, как собачки, да?
Всюду, да, всюду ходят. С Канады. Они сказали мне на пароходе.
А на пароходе за вами ходили?
Самое, да, и тут, и повсюду. Мы только уезжали на вакансии куда-то.
Можно еще быть?
Конечно, милый мой, для того и делать, что пить.
The second thing is he didn't die for a long time. And when we showed him the film later, he said, you were hoping I was going to die, weren't you? And we said, yeah, we were. But he also said, well, you have a nice sense of structure. So we were happy about that.
Michel Brault, le caméraman qui marche, eut une très grande influence sur le cinéma vérité à travers le monde. Ce cinéaste innovateur est un magicien de l'ombre et de la lumière. Sa façon de se déplacer, une caméra à l'épaule, est entrée dans la légende. En braquant son objectif sur le Québec vers la fin des années 50, Brault a joué un rôle décisif dans la création du programme français de l'ONF.
Ça va. Je pense que j'ai touché au bouton. Bon, voilà la claquette, l'équipe. OK, on arrête, on pose la caméra. Je ne sais pas très bien qu'est-ce que c'est la vérité. La vérité, c'est quelque chose d'abord d'inatteignable. On peut pas penser d'écrire la vérité avec des caméras. Mais ce qu'on peut faire, c'est révéler quelque chose à des spectateurs qui les fait découvrir leur propre vérité à eux. Dans les racketteurs, il y a techniquement, c'est pour ceux qui s'intéressent à cette chose-là, on peut voir un moment qui, je crois, dans ma vie, à moi en tout cas, je ne sais pas si ça l'est sur le continent ou au Canada ou au Québec ou à l'ONF. Et là, il y avait une petite cérémonie de remise des clés de la ville au maire de la ville.
Il me fait grand plaisir de présenter au nom des citoyens de Sherbrooke ces clés, signes et symboles de bienvenue, vous invitant, Monsieur le Président de l'Union américaine des racketteurs, de profiter de notre hospitalité.
On voit dans l'image, j'ai commencé par faire un plan large de l'ensemble, et dans ce plan-là, on voit Marcel qui dépose un magnétophone et qui s'écrase et qui tient le microphone comme ça. Et pour moi, c'est, dans ma vie, le premier plan de cinéma direct. Je trouve pas que Les Racketteurs, c'est un grand film. C'est un film un peu caricatural, etc. C'est pas un film qui va en profondeur. C'est pas un film que le cinéma direct ou vérité allait nous permettre plus tard de faire, c'est-à-dire de pouvoir s'approcher des gens avec l'image et le son et de les connaître dans leur univers sonore. C'est qu'un jour, pour lutter contre l'emprise de la littérature sur le cinéma à l'ONF, on parlait souvent de ça entre nous, puis on disait, mais il ne faut pas que ce soit de la littérature qui domine, il faut que ce soit l'image et le son. Alors, on a écrit sur une feuille de papier, nous voudrions faire un film sur la lutte le mercredi soir au Forum. Point.
Le petit paquet, le renversement complet, et c'est la victoire.
Alexandre Astruc, qui était un critique au Cahier du cinéma, je crois, et qui a aussi fait des films. Et c'est lui qui a parlé de la caméra stylo. Et c'est une très belle image. Claude Jutras et moi, on rêvait de ça, une espèce de... Évidemment, c'est pas un stylo, mais une caméra qui nous permet de prendre des notes, de filmer comme ça. Dernière séquence qui était tournée par Claude Jutras avec les frères Kalashnikov ou Kalashnikov.
I'm sure of one thing. There are accomplishments in the ring tonight. Is the final judge
Qui est absolument extraordinaire où ils disent Pravda, Pravda. Et puis nous on venait d'entendre Rouge parler de Kino Pravda avec Dziga-Vertov. Et puis là on se retrouvait avec ces lutteurs qui disaient Pravda, c'est la vérité, vérité.
Pravda, Pravda, Pasiba. And what I stand and tell some people could understand me, I would talk to them in Russian. But this is being Canadian film these fellas is taking. I can only say in the best I can say in English. We dare not lose the match tonight. That's the positive truth.
Et c'est ça la vérité. Nothing but the truth.
En réalité, l'expression cinéma-vérité nous vient des Russes. Dziga-Vertov et son frère Mikhail, les inventeurs du Kino Pravda, étaient cependant trop en avance sur leur temps. Depuis les débuts du cinéma, les cinéastes rêvaient de se servir des images en mouvement pour raconter la vie telle qu'elle se déroule. En 1919, Vertov transforma cette idée en un manifeste qui dénonçait le cinéma d'art. Il préconisait un nouveau style de reportage basé sur la vie saisie à l'improviste. Mais sans la possibilité d'enregistrer le son en direct, la vision de Vertov n'était qu'une illusion. C'est pourquoi des générations de documentaristes ont tenté depuis de réaliser le rêve de Vertov. Nous rencontrons Jean Rouch à la Cinémathèque française qui présente ces jours-ci une rétrospective de ses films. Anthropologue et initiateur du cinéma vérité en France, Rouch se sert de la caméra comme catalyseur, mêlant entrevues et psychodrames. Il sonde la vie personnelle et politique de ses sujets pour en révéler la vérité sociale.
Cinéma vérité, voilà. Quand j'étais à Brest, un jeune garçon, peut-être à 6 ans, mon père m'a emmené au cinéma à Brest pour aller voir Nanook of the North, le film de Flaherty. J'ai vu ce film qui, bien sûr, se passait dans des régions polaires, dans les régions de la glace, etc. Et je me souviens que, depuis ce temps-là, tous les soirs, je m'endormais comme les petits chiens de Nanook, enroulés sur moi-même. Et moi, je lui dis comme question, et Nanook, est-ce que c'était vrai? Je dis, on demandera à ton père. Et je demande à mon père, qui me dit, c'était vrai, mais c'était joué devant une caméra. Dès ce moment-là, à 5 ans, je faisais la différence entre le cinéma documentaire et le cinéma de fiction. À cette époque, j'avais déjà fait beaucoup de films en Afrique, et qui étaient des films documentaires, des films d'ethnographie. Mon ami Edgar Morin, qui était un sociologue et un spécialiste du cinéma, me dit, mais tu ne connais pas ta tribu. Ta tribu, c'est les Parisiens. Faisons un film ensemble sur ces gens que tu ignores. Et c'est comme ça qu'on a entrepris Chronique d'un été.
Ce film n'a pas été joué par des acteurs, mais vécu par des hommes et des femmes
qui ont donné des moments de leur existence à une expérience nouvelle de cinéma-vérité. Tu vois, Morin, l'idée de réunir des gens autour d'une table est une excellente idée. Seulement, je ne sais pas si nous arriverons à enregistrer une conversation aussi normale qu'elle le serait s'il n'y avait pas de caméra. Par exemple, je ne sais pas si Marceline arrivera à se décontracter, arrivera à parler absolument normal. Il faut essayer.
Quand nous avons tourné Chronique d'un été, on avait commencé à tourner avec une caméra à réflexe de Blimpé qui pesait 30 ou 50 kilos. Donc on était avec des plans fixes et on filmait des gens. Et très vite au montage, on s'est aperçu qu'on n'allait pas montrer un film uniquement avec des gens assis sur une chaise, etc., etc. Et là, j'ai demandé aux techniciens, qui étaient les techniciens de cette époque, de marcher dans la rue avec une caméra. Comme il fait, là, il ne marche pas avec sa caméra, mais il n'a pas de tripode.
C'est un film pour le Canada. Stop.
Et c'était contraire à l'idée des techniciens de cette époque. J'ai dit au producteur, je connais quelqu'un.
Vous engageons 1 mois pour film rouge, stop.
Qui pourra nous apprendre et apprendre aux jeunes du cinéma français.
Souhaitons possibilité, prolongation éventuelle, 3 semaines, stop.
À utiliser de nouvelles méthodes. C'est comme ça que Michel Brault nous a rejoints.
30 nouveaux francs d'effraiement journalier. 30 nouveaux francs, c'est... Aujourd'hui, c'est 8 $. Stop. Prière confirmée, accord télégramme.
L'avantage qu'avait eu Michel Brault, c'est que à ce moment-là, le National Film Board, l'Office national du cinéma, était vraiment un des rares endroits de recherche technique et de recherche dans tous les domaines. Le jour de son arrivée, bon, il nous arrive, il nous amène 2 cadeaux pour nous. Moi, je raconte toujours ça car c'est inoubliable. Il nous amène d'abord les premiers micro-cravates et on avait reçu également les premières lentilles interdites, des lentilles de caméra qui étaient le 10 mm. Et il nous a rejoints dans un tournage qui était terriblement difficile. On avait décidé de filmer sur la place de la Concorde, le 15 août, je crois. Nous filmions Marceline Loridan, qui était l'une des rares survivantes des camps de concentration.
Puis voilà, je suis là maintenant, dans la Concorde. Je suis revenue, je suis restée. Je t'ai vu là-bas. Ça faisait 6 mois qu'on était déjà arrivés. On s'est jetés dans les bras l'un de l'autre. Puis ce salissait. C'est rué sur moi qui m'a frappé devant toi. Toi, tu disais, mais c'est ma fille, mais c'est ma fille.
Là, Marceline Loridan est fâchée parce qu'elle dit, je veux bien tourner, mais je ne veux que personne n'écoute ce que je dis avant qu'on l'ait vu en projection.
Puis, tu avais un oignon dans la main. Tu l'as mis dans la mienne et je me suis évanouie.
Michel Brault me dit, écoute, on va poser la caméra derrière ta 2 chevaux, ta voiture. On poussera la voiture, nous deux, et on laissera la voiture. Elle précédera Marceline, puis elle s'arrêtera d'elle-même, et on n'y touche pas.
Papa, quand je t'ai vu, tu m'as dit, et maman, et Michel. Tu m'as appelée ta petite fille. J'étais presque heureuse d'être déportée avec toi, tellement je t'aimais. Papa. Papa. Comme je voudrais t'avoir maintenant.
Et c'est, à mon avis, un des plus beaux plans que j'ai jamais fait de ma vie, qui est un plan de hasard complet, et dans lequel elle est libre.
Je suis revenue, j'étais dure. J'étais dure. J'ai vu tout le monde sur le quai de la gare, maman, tout le monde. On m'embrassait, j'avais un cœur de pierre. Michel qui m'a ému. Je lui ai dit, tu ne me reconnais pas? Il m'a dit, si, je crois que tu es Marceline. Papa.
À un moment donné, Marceline s'arrête, puis la deux chevaux continue. Elle reste toute petite dans l'image. Enfin, ce sont des trucs qu'on improvise sur le moment. Rouge en fait un plat parce que pour lui, c'était la merveille de pouvoir filmer comme ça. Quand il a vu ces roches-là, le publiciste, à la fin de la séance, il s'est levé, je le vois encore, là, s'est relevé, puis s'est retourné vers nous. Il dit, messieurs, je sais ce qu'il faut faire. Il faut faire nos affiches et nous allons mettre en travers un papillon collé par-dessus. Première expérience de cinéma vérité.
Bon, alors, ce qui est étrange, c'est que tout l'univers du cinéma français a adapté le mot direct, mais tout l'univers anglophone a conservé le mot cinéma vérité.
C'est ça. Oui.
Don Pennebaker quitta son poste d'ingénieur pour devenir cinéaste. Drew l'embaucha pour ses connaissances techniques et son esprit audacieux. Les prises de vue improvisées de Pennebaker sont devenues la marque de commerce du cinéma vérité. Aujourd'hui septuagénaire, il réalise des documentaires avec ses fils et sa compagne Chris.
Pennebaker, that was not a good slate. I can tell you from experience.
Every day I used to shoot a roll of film. I had a Rolleiflex. And I would shoot a roll on people. They couldn't be children, they couldn't be old people. They had to be kind of people my age, and I had to get good portraits of them, good faces. And I would do that day after day until I got kind of used to dealing in, up front with people, because that's what's hard. You're kind of embarrassed to poke a camera at somebody and take a picture of them. I mean, sometimes you get knocked down when you do it, so you learn to be fairly wary. Action is character. I mean, that's not my line, that's Scott Fitzgerald's, but I think that's true. And in film, you get to really see that constantly with Eddie Sachs. I mean, there he is. He's just one thing away from winning, and he has to come in and change tires. And that was not sync sound or anything. It just was getting away from the old trite little habits that people had fallen into. You could talk about that or write about it, but to see him do it and see him throwing up in the wastebasket because he lost, that's action as character. That's amazing.
Let him alone, he's sick.
What Cinema Verite does that's different is it has this funny historical context. It really happened at one time. This is your history.
And I don't think I'm a folk singer. You'll probably call me a folk singer, but, the other people know better. Because the people that buy my records listen to me don't necessarily read Time magazine. The audience that subscribe to Time magazine, the audience of the people that want to know what's happening in the world week by week, the people that work during the day and can read it, it's small, right? And it's concise. And there's pictures in it. I mean, those kind of, a certain class of people. It's a class of people that take the magazine seriously. I mean, sure, I can read it, and I read it on the airplanes, but I don't take it seriously. If I want to find out anything, I'm not going to read Time magazine. I'm not going to read Newsweek. I'm not going to read any of these magazines. I mean, because they just got too much to lose by printing the truth.
I think of Cezanne coming along when everybody, had to swat the flies on the Trompe-l'oeil Dutch pictures, or they weren't any good. And he's suddenly saying, forget the fucking flies, look at this smear, and everybody said, what smear, get it out of here. I mean, in the beginning, it had to be really hard. And little by little, and that generational thing takes up, and everything changes in some way. And eventually everybody says, well, those smears were great. I want some more of those smears. Who's making these smears these days?
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam.
And admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing.
As you can see, we have individual control of these elements as to volume and to quality. Okay, cut it. Now you'll see how we do the final mix with all the tracks in the picture, Fred.
Say, Clark, pardon me. How was my level on that last take?
Fine, Bill, fine.
Good.
That's Bill Greaves, our commentator. It was his voice you heard on the demonstration.
Oh.
I was absolutely fascinated by a book that I had read called Grierson and Documentary by John Grierson.
Mr. Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the moment to remember one of the first principles of documentary, and it must be one of the first principles because I wrote it. That it's about today and not about yesterday, and that the only good film is the one you're going to make tomorrow.
He spoke very much about the importance of truth. He says truth is going to the outer limits of reality and finding that thing that makes that reality what it is. That's truth. Louis Armstrong hitting high C, it's truth. Joe DiMaggio hitting a home run, it's truth. Marilyn Monroe smiling, that's truth, you know. And I said to him, I guess as maybe a devil's advocate, I said, well, why are you so interested in truth? And he said, well, if that is not God damn this stupid, he said, who is this person? You know?
Bill Greaves quitta New York pour venir s'établir au Canada au début des années 50. Il devint chef-monteur de la série Can't Die à l'ONF. Ancien comédien, il se servait de ses connaissances dramatiques pour construire sa propre définition de la vérité.
It's the creative input that, for me, signals the value of a filmmaker with respect to cinema verite, not the fact that they put this camera here and they shot this camera and there it is and it's looking at this thing that's really happening. You know, that's, anybody can do that, but what do you do with that? How does that raise human consciousness? I'm not as involved with cinema verite or candid camera work to the exclusion of art.
I've taken up a lot more than you have.
You have? Well, you've
Yes.
been living longer than I have.
You're damn right. It'll take a hell of a lot more for you to turn around and tell me what I should do and what I shouldn't do.
I was just explaining to you.
Don't explain anything. I don't need it.
Well, can't you be reasonable?
I could,
Well,
to a certain extent.
Well, why don't you?
But why should I?
Well, there are other
Do you
here.
people? Do you people?
Why?
But she was screaming. I mean, we got this soundtrack, but we didn't have the shot. And we put the camera in front of a room with a light behind a curtain and ran the soundtrack. And it played very well, and it worked, you know, as a sequence.
I'll put the same question you put to Greaves in there. Why is William Greaves so interested in the truth?
Well, at least my reaction is not going to be what Grierson's was to mine. Don't take me seriously.
Au début des années 60, le premier réalisateur noir du Canada retourna aux États-Unis mettre son expertise au service du mouvement des droits civils.
The person that is in charge of filming this film being filmed, okay? Hey, where's the switch on this goddamn thing?
À la fois photographe et auteur, Hope Ryden cherchait du travail dans le cinéma. Elle savait raconter une histoire au plus près de ses sujets. Ce sont ces qualités que recherchait Bob Drew lorsqu'il l'a embauché.
Are you getting paid by the hour? We knew we were on the cutting edge of something big. Ryden. It was hard for people to get used to it at first, I think, because it wasn't steady. You know, it wasn't a little shaky or a little darker than they were used to. And some people thought that's what cinema verite meant, to do a shaky film. But of course it wasn't. We would have been very happy if it hadn't been shaky, but that's how it was. What we were doing was finding an upcoming event in which some character would have a great stake. At that moment, they would either win or lose, and it didn't matter whether they would win or lose. It mattered that they cared a whole lot about what they were doing.
Jane Fonda, daughter of a famous actor, preparing for her first opening night as a star on the Broadway stage.
Oh, that left, Jane. I'm having my dresser come a week before we go out of town, and I'm putting a screen up, and I'm going to change on every costume change. Try to get some sort of clothes that approximate what I have to put on.
And we went on the road, Wilmington, New Haven, Baltimore. Actually, I'm going to turn this down and say something. On the train, they were all rewriting the play. They were trying to save it because it was so terrible. And at one point, they threw up their hands and asked me if I would rewrite it. And I said, no way. I'm making this film, and cinema verite filmmakers do not do anything to interfere with what happens. We're just here. Well, you're going to see me in this. I think I'm caught in the mirror at one point. There I am. Trying to be unobtrusive.
Oh, I can't believe.
Opening night.
Darling.
People walked out, and critics panned it terribly. He's going to type away his review, and it's a bad one.
I find it impossible to believe that the fun couple ever went out of town.
Actually, she didn't bomb. It was the play that bombed.
If it had gone out of town, they'd have closed it.
I do feel sympathy, yeah, but what can I do? I mean, I didn't write the play. If I'd written the play, I would have really felt bad.
I'm going to wash my hair and forget the whole thing, says Mr. Dillman, saving dialogue a little later on. And now I'm going to wash my hair, but I shall never, never forget.
I felt for her all along. I didn't say anything, but I felt for her.
But isn't it again a violative kind of principle of cinema verite to get so involved and emotionally
Well,
involved?
no, she didn't know I was emotionally involved. How could I not be? How could I make a film if I didn't get emotionally involved? I wouldn't recognize the emotions I wanted to get. If I didn't feel, I wouldn't be able to make a film. So it's not that I didn't feel; it's that I didn't run over and hug her and wipe her eyes and start crying with her. Because what good would that do our film?
Turn out the lights, would you, Mr. Hepworth?
Cinema verite actually was a worldwide movement. The antecedents were here with Grierson and Flaherty.
Le feu créateur du cinéma vérité s'est rapidement répandu dans le monde. Cinéastes et idées franchissaient les frontières. On tournait l'histoire au pas de course. On arrivait presque à la toucher. Présidents et paysans, célébrités et exclus, sur scène et dans la rue. Et à l'arrière-scène, la révolution de vérité transformait notre façon d'appréhender le monde. Au fur et à mesure que son répertoire prenait de l'ampleur, le cinéma vérité se raffinait, un nouveau langage naissait sous nos yeux.
From Quebec, France, back and forth, back and forth. That's the history of cinema verite.
The equipment was one thing, but what to do with the equipment was the other. And the idea of capturing human emotion spontaneously as it happens was a key idea that made primary work and made all our other films work
and are making cinema verite work today in many ways across the spectrum of television.
June 10, 1963. In the next 30 hours, John F. Kennedy will have to make a chain of decisions deeply affecting millions of Americans and the future of his own presidency. His decisions will also affect the immediate actions of 4 people. George Wallace, governor of the state of Alabama, determined to defy a federal court order by personally blocking the entrance of 2 Negro students to the University of Alabama. Robert Kennedy, Attorney General of the United States, responsible for enforcing the federal court order to gain admission of the 2 students. Vivian Malone and James Hood, Negro students determined to enter the university in spite of the governor's opposition. Finally, a more far-reaching decision of historic consequence for the president is whether or not to commit the presidency in a speech before the United States and the world behind racial equality as a moral issue. This is the account of a crisis and the story behind a presidential commitment.
Drama almost always includes a pressure point or turning point. And that pressure point or turning point can be called a crisis.
Do hereby denounce and forbid this illegal and unwarranted action by the central government.
Governor Wallace, I take it from that statement that you are going to stand in that door and that you are not going to carry out the orders of this court, that you are going to resist us from doing so. Is that correct?
I stand upon the statement.
Stand upon that statement. Governor, I'm not interested in a show. I don't know what the purpose of the show is. I am interested in the orders of these courts being enforced. That is my only responsibility here.
Life is a kind of theater when you find the right story, but they're not acting.
He's had this opportunity, should let him go through, or otherwise we're going to have to take other steps because these students are going to attend the University of Alabama. Then, if he still doesn't move, then we'll try to get by him. Pushing? So we're pushing a little bit. Or just having somebody stand in front of them, try to walk through. The 3 doors. We're going to try to have somebody inside who will open up one of the other doors so that we can't cover all 3 doors and just have the girls and the boys just try to go through another door. Anyway, that's going to be up to Nick Katzenbach as to how far we can go in that.
What kind of stories can you tell with cinema verite? Wherever people do things, you can reflect life through cinema verite in stories.
Now, it's important to remember, I had no idea whether Pennebaker and Greg Shucker were at the other end of the telephone. And half a telephone call is very uninteresting. Nothing. So I shot anyway. I prayed. I do pray. I prayed fervently that Pennebaker was shooting at the other end, that he hadn't gone to take a leak, that he hadn't gone to get some coffee, that he hadn't been thrown out. And he was shooting.
Yes, he is. He was 1 second ago. He likes it. You want him back? I can put him on, Bob. No, he says he likes this. It makes clearer the basis of calling up the guard, and he thinks it's a good scheme. He prefers it.
You want to say hello to Carrie?
Yeah. Hi, Carrie. How you, dear?
How you doing? Are you at our house?
What?
Are you at our house?
No, I'm not out at your house. I'm way down in the Southland. Way down south. And you know what the temperature is down here? The temperature down here is 98 degrees. You tell your father that. Tell him we're all going to get hardship pay. Get Carrie on. Sure.
We're all going to get hardship today.
We're going to all get what?
Hardship today.
Okay, say goodbye.
Maybe.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Hello?
And by God, we had both ends of the conversation. It was incredible.
How did you feel?
I felt that was one of the most exciting moments of my life. But without organizing it, it just happened.
Dans les années 60, la télévision canadienne s'ouvrit à des documentaires de vérité criante. Le producteur Doug Letterman présentait ses meilleures réalisations à This Hour Has 70s, une émission qui provoquait la controverse. Plus tard, il se rendit à New York avec un projet qui devint la célèbre émission 60 Minutes.
We kind of got in the back door to cinema verite through journalism. We had a kind of a general justification for going after, call it what you like, truth, facts, the true story, the real picture. The onus was on us to be ethical. The Vietnam War was heating up, and we needed to cover it for Canada. We needed a documentary. We thought that it would be an idea to send out a woman reporter into Vietnam, and Burl Fox was elected to go. Centerpiece of that film was the sequence they did with the guys who were dive bombing with napalm on the Vietnamese.
Okay, look out to the right now. Okay, right down there. Okay, napalm now. There it goes. Ah, look at it burn. Look at it burn. Okay, we bombed first of all, and then we beat up the area, and that's when they started to run. Okay, then the napalmers come across, and we strafed immediately in front of them, see, to keep their heads down. We were receiving heavy ground fire. You can see the tracer bullets coming up past us. Fantastic, and we really made them run. That's outstanding, because when they get out of their trenches in the open, we can really hit them, and that's what we like to do. That's what we're here for. And boy, it's outstanding to really catch them out in the open. We don't do that very often.
And Burl, as a journalist, her sense of how to complete the sequence or the story, then went into the village that they had napalmed. And you saw the smoldering, still smoking ruins. And the great merit of that was that you could do your own ethical balance on what the story should, on what should be included and how the story would come out without sitting and writing a script saying, this is what you should think.
Tandis que les cinéastes canadiens-anglais restaient fascinés par les épopées sociales américaines des années 60, leurs confrères québécois fouillaient l'identité culturelle. Pierre Perrault, écrivain nationaliste, passionné de chasse et aussi auteur d'émissions radiophoniques, mit sa sensibilité au service de la poésie du langage. Il a réalisé plusieurs classiques du cinéma vérité, dont une célèbre trilogie.
Je peux dire en commençant que je ne suis pas venu au cinéma par le cinéma. Je suis venu au cinéma par le magnétophone. Tu te places dans une situation vivante, dans la vie des gens, là tu as une scène. C'est-à-dire que les gens, par leur vie, vivent leurs paroles. Et là, on s'est amené à l'île aux coudes, et puis on a fait pour la suite du monde, qui est peut-être inégalé. Dans ma trajectoire à moi. C'est peut-être le plus beau film, puis c'est pas de ma faute.
C'est la pêche la plus enivrante, qui donne le plus de passion à l'homme. C'est la pêche la plus belle qui peut se faire.
La vie mettait en scène et les gens écrivaient leurs dialogues, si on peut dire. Ma véritable intervention, c'est d'avoir participé à la pêche, d'avoir tendu la pêche avec les gens de l'île. Je deviens participant, complice, et les gens de l'île sont à l'aise avec moi parce qu'ils voient bien que je fais partie de l'île en quelque sorte, qu'ils m'imprègnent de ce qu'ils sont. Pour moi, c'est fondamental, ça. Je ne fais pas mes films. Je ne vais pas là pour faire mon film. Je vais là pour faire leur film.
L'ambition de prendre du marsouin. C'est le plus beau poisson qui peut se prendre. Ça revient rôti, je souhaiterais Quand sortira comment que je serai parti dessus à terre, pour que les jeunes voient ce que les vieux ont inventé.
La fabrication de ces films-là m'a aidé à m'identifier moi-même. C'est une quête d'identité, mais au début plus ou moins inconsciente, parce que il y avait aussi la ferveur de ces gens-là qui m'entraînait. Mais au bout du compte, quand Pour la suite du monde est sorti, il y a beaucoup de gens qui n'ont pas aimé ça du tout, mais il y a des gens qui se sont trouvés là-dedans.
Les pêcheurs de l'île aux Coudres dans le fleuve Saint-Laurent avaient retrouvé la tradition perdue de la pêche au marsouin. Sauf que cette fois, plutôt que de tuer la baleine, on la reconduirait à l'aquarium de Coney Island, à New York.
Si tu rapportes les paroles de quelqu'un que tu as entendu ou que tu crois avoir entendu, ça, c'est de l'imaginaire. Mais cette machine-là, elle ne filme pas l'imaginaire. Elle filme la réalité. Elle filme le vécu des gens au moment où ils vivent. C'est impossible. On n'a pas un outil suffisant pour rendre compte d'une réalité qu'on a vécue sans la refaire. Et alors, c'est ça qui m'a passionné dans l'aventure de Pour la suite et des autres films, c'est que je pouvais capter le réel sans aucune faute, infailliblement. C'est une mémoire infaillible. Elle n'est pas complète, elle n'est pas totale. Là, c'est là.
Tout règne animal parle, tout poisson parle.
Ouais.
C'est plutôt, je ne l'ai pas compris.
Il parle. Le poisson parle, certains entre eux.
C'est un son.
Il y en avait d'Alaska. Je suis à 18 000 de la Russie, puis je parle russe, puis que le nôtre parle français ou anglais, alors là, il était un pays bilingue. Alors, on n'a pas compris, hein? Ça m'a dit pour nous autres de comprendre.
Mais je crois, ça vaut ce que ça vaut, mais je crois que j'ai écrit une Odyssée. J'ai fait l'Odyssée, les voyages d'Ulysse, à travers ces gens-là, à travers leur vie. Au lieu de partir de toute la littérature que je connaissais pour écrire une épopée ou un roman, j'ai pris l'épopée, j'ai pris le roman dans la vie.
Tout comme Pierre Perrault, Al Maysles s'intéresse aux drames des gens ordinaires dans leur vie quotidienne. Cet ancien psychologue est célèbre pour ses prises de vue exceptionnellement sensibles. En 1961, Maysles a fondé sa propre société avec son frère David et la monteuse Charlotte Swirin.
My name is Albert Maysles. Ow. What enthused us so much, among other things, was that we were making uncontrolled cinema. We weren't interested in controlling people, what they might say, what they might do, the ideas that might come out of it. What was great about it was the whole process of discovery, rather than invention. We wanted to take a big, big step in filmmaking to make a non-fiction feature film. And when we discovered that there were actually 4,000 guys in America going house to house selling the Bible, the selling and the Bible, I mean, in a way, what else is there to indicate what America's all about?
Many are called, but few are chosen. The gipper, the rabbit, the bull, and myself.
In religious terms, there's a wonderful word. It's called providence. And reality is providence.
You know what my name is?
It provides the subjects. It provides the events.
You have a cousin named Carl, don't you, Chris?
You can see how complete it is. The Bible runs as little as $49.95, and we have 3 plans on it. Cash, COD, and also they have a little Catholic honor plan. Which plan would be the best for you, the A, B, or C?
I'm really not interested in once I speak, it'll what my husband.
Yeah.
The controlling factor is your adherence to reality. That's your boss. And if you're worried about objectivity and subjectivity, you're afraid to film. So what is it that gives you the confidence that you're going to be fair and that you're going to end up with something that is truthful, that will demand the respect of the person that you've been filming? It's the empathy, it's the love, it's the respect that you give that person.
This is worse than New England.
Hey, Paul, good luck to you. If I don't see you. Relax.
End of the tirade.
I hope you don't.
No, well, I mean,
Relax,
it's got to be
Duval.
changed around. I'm not working any more afternoons. Period. I'm working the way I want to work and when the way I want to go out.
Relax.
Because this thing is, I might as well be shooting myself in the sun. This is absolutely no good in the end.
Good luck, Paul. Hey, thank you. Good luck.
By liking the person that you're filming, even though that person may have ideas and do things that are totally at odds with your own philosophy and feelings, by giving that person that empathy, the way a therapist has to be fair to a patient, you allow that person to be themselves. No better, no different, no worse. That's my creed. They say that love is blind. True love isn't blind. I think true love is great respect. And if you have great respect for the people that you're filming, you can get access to just about anybody. And you can do it, I think, with a flick of an eye. You look at somebody and they trust you or they don't. And if you give them what I call the gaze.
Alors que les films de Maisels se penchent sur la psyché individuelle, Fred Wiseman observe les institutions américaines. Écoles secondaires ou asiles d'aliénés, hôpitaux ou abattoirs, rien n'échappe à l'objectif critique de sa caméra. Wiseman a quitté le droit en 1967 pour devenir le plus doctrinaire des réalisateurs. Son principe est toujours le même. Pas de narration, pas d'intervention, pas d'entrevue.
Robbie, I understand that after a film has been shot and processed, it comes here to the cutting room. Just what does an editor do with it?
My definition of cinema verite is that it's a pompous French term that has no meaning. Pompous and pretentious French term that has no meaning.
Okay.
And my interest is more in, obviously reflecting the kind of things that I do, which is to, in part, try to organize some of the dramatic aspects of ordinary experience in everyday life.
But there's no kind of conscious manipulation of the reality that you enter into.
Of course there's conscious manipulation. Everything about a movie is manipulation. How can you say that? I mean, you're putting me on. It's very hard to give a lecture on editing structure without really developing a set of materials that show the various transitions involved. Making one of these movies is kind of an internal, it's a conversation with yourself. I'm interested in reducing the film to a usable form. I'm interested in the dramatic structure of the sequence. I'm interested in trying to be fair to the people who have agreed to be in the film. And I'm interested in having it work in movie terms. You start off your shooting, you collect material, say 75 to 120 hours. When I review the whole thing, I make notes. In the beginning, each sequence is an isolated island. And then there are little archipelagos that begin to be connected. In editing particularly, you have to pay attention to thoughts at the edge of your head. I mean, and the process is, in one sense, very rational, or attempts to be rational. And on the other hand, it's irrational and unrational. I could go through each of the movies and tell you why each shot is there and what its relationship is to the shot that goes before and after it, and what the relationship of the first 10 minutes of the movie is to the last 5 minutes of the movie. And that 5 minutes often won't be 5 consecutive minutes. I think this goes with that, and if that goes with this, 20 minutes later I can put this in. Consecutive minutes, it'll be 5 minutes taken from all over the hour and 50 minutes edited into a form to appear as if it took place the way you're seeing it. I mean, I have to fiddle, and it comes out in the fiddle.
You wouldn't call that a lie, though. It's kind of your vision of a representation of
Well, a lie, it depends, you know, whether you like it or not. I mean, it's an interpretation. If you don't like it, it's a lie. But everything about these kind of movies is a distortion.
La forme et le style du cinéma vérité évoluent d'une décennie à l'autre dans toutes sortes de directions.
Cinema verite is enlivening all kinds of documentaries that are not cinema verite. And you have scenes within them and moments within them that make the documentary more spontaneous and human than it's ever been before.
Le cinéma vérité a décollé comme une fusée. Barbara Kopple, qui représente la génération de transition entre les vieux de la vieille et l'avant-garde, franchit souvent la frontière entre le documentaire et la fiction, entre vérité et illusion. Ces longs métrages documentaires à forte saveur politique lui ont mérité quelques Oscars.
My role models in cinema verite is the Maisel brothers, because that was my first job in film. They did teach me about not invading somebody and to really allowing life to unfold. And so I learned so much from the Maisel brothers.
Down in a coal mine, down in a deep hole.
I had been reading in the newspaper about this movement that was going on through the coal fields known as Miners for Democracy. And so I thought that this was incredible, and I wanted to watch what happened to them, and if they did win, see if they were really going to keep their promises.
My kneecaps got bad, down on a hard rock, on a set of knee pads.
Harlan County was a film where, you know, we were machine gunned with semi-automatic carbines. A gun was held at my head by a strikebreaker, and you can hear me screaming at the top of my lungs, "Don't shoot." Why you're there and why you're doing this type of film is because you want to give voice to people, you know, who maybe we don't always get a chance to hear. You want to be protection for them because they were doing something that was all about life and death. What takes over is the people's struggle of what they believe in, and they're less concerned with our camera crew, you know, our film crew. They're more concerned with surviving from day to day.
All right, man, let's break it up now.
I enjoy it all. I think that what life is about is doing a lot of different things. And even though, you know, you may be a nonfiction filmmaker, there's no reason why you can't do fiction. Just like an actor plays a lot of different roles, those of us that want to communicate should be able to do the same.
Kopple réalise des émissions de télévision comme Homicide, une série américaine qui utilise la technique du cinéma vérité pour donner une allure réaliste aux aventures des policiers de Baltimore.
We have handheld cameras that's shot in 16mm. It's all about spontaneity, it's all about freedom, and it's all, you know, allowing the actors to be who they want to be in, you know, determining the character.
What the hell's going on here? You Barry Levinson. Yeah? I went to high school with you. What are you, homicide? Homicide? Homicide here? Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Mr. Levinson. Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
I gotta tell you, the real police here in Baltimore,
Yeah?
they don't say freeze. It's
They
a
don't?
television thing, I think.
Guys, it's a real homicide here. You guys never say freeze?
Nah.
Really?
Nah.
I'm misled by that. Cut!
Pour moi, un documentaire, c'est faire un film document ou documentaire. C'est de profiter d'une occasion qui se présente à moi. Et puis, elle ne se présente pas tout le temps quand j'ai envie de tourner un film. Par exemple, il y a des événements importants qui se passent en 70 au Québec. Je ne peux pas tourner un documentaire parce que l'armée est partout, que les gens sont en prison, on ne le sait même pas. Et je commence à faire une recherche après les événements, une fois que tout s'est calmé.
Quelqu'un là-dedans?
Non, mais là, vous allez m'arrêter ça. Vous allez me dire ce que vous voulez. À part de ça, avez-vous un mandat de perquisition?
Plus besoin de mandat. Une loi spéciale. La loi d'urgence, elle vient d'être votée.
Qu'est-ce que je peux faire? Des entrevues, talking show, c'est talking heads, comme on dit, je sais pas. C'est pas la même chose.
Maïs s'en va! Hey, Maïs s'en va! Oui? Oh! Eh oui, on peut décrire un message.
Et qu'est-ce que je pouvais faire? Je pouvais me servir de mon expérience pour recréer ces moments-là et faire une fiction, parce que les ordres, c'est une fiction. Mais c'est informé par toute l'expérience que j'ai eue en faisant du documentaire, en côtoyant la vie pas seulement comme être humain, mais à travers un viseur.
The search of the 3 missing Montgomery College students continues in Frederick County tonight.
10 days and thousands of man-hours have been unable to produce any clues.
We have a few leads, a few other options we want to take advantage of, and just try to put together some pieces to this puzzle.
Do you believe the occult may be involved in the disappearance of your son?
There's something about the form, really, the truth of documentary or verite documentary that seems the way you use it is kind of brilliant as well. But what is it about documentary that sort of makes you believe it's real, even though it's constructed as any other film?
Cinema verite has, has burst forth into the mainstream. I think by way of filmmakers, who seek that kind of stuff out and get influenced by it and then do this, and that influences this, and it's kind of a domino effect.
It's like this language that you inherit. You don't have to go back and learn Latin to, know that Latin words kind of are in English.
Very good.
It's just kind of the language that's there.
Un film d'horreur tourné en pseudo-cinéma vérité, ce film illustre parfaitement la force dramatique du documentaire lorsqu'on s'en sert pour simuler la réalité.
There's a whole history of cinema that led up and made Blair possible, culminating, I think, with really 2 really kind of simple, basic things, at least in the United States, which is the show Cops, which is cinema verite that people watch
on a consumer level
every week, and it's a huge hit. And then your home videos. I mean, people now shoot cinema verite and watch cinema verite for every special family event that they do, and you get used to that aesthetic, that shaky, don't see everything, sometimes out of focus, sometimes framed up wrong, means reality.
I'm so scared.
In film school, you kind of learn, and when you have the ego of a young film student, you kind of want to storyboard everything and script everything, and everything has to be exactly the way I saw it in my head, or it's not right. And one of the things we learned in Blair was...
That's a little airy.
It was. I learned when to shut up.
The idea of an objective cinema is a complete fallacy to me. So the whole idea that cinema verite came out of, which I think is fair, was fair at the time, which is that you could be a fly on the wall, you could observe and not condition the events, I think we know now is not true.
À partir de 1000 heures de vidéo vérité, Jennifer Fox a monté une télésérie de 10 heures. des millions de téléspectateurs ont été captivés par ce feuilleton documentaire qui dévoile les détails intimes de la vie familiale.
Following my own advice when I teach, which is you should make films close to the heart, I wanted to make a film about love and race, and a positive film, a film about how people survive the pressures, because I wanted to figure it out myself. You know, shooting an American Love Story, I woke up, put the camera on, literally my body, and it never left me till like 3 or 4 in the morning.
What is she doing now that she's not playing Game Boys?
Watch TV. Watch TV.
Are you watching it with her?
No. Sometimes.
When I was younger, I used to believe that you go in and you steal the image. I was only in film school a year, but in 1 year, the idea was you go and you come home, and hopefully they don't know that you've taken it, you know? And this is the kind of aggressive attitude, at least I came to documentary filmmaking with, and I don't believe in that anymore. I have a real problem with pure verite often because I feel like you're watching action, but action doesn't reveal a whole lot of the time. So you don't know what the subject is thinking or feeling. And for me, interviews gets into subtext and into psychology and into motivation that brings a fuller depth of character to the image.
What am I to do? I enjoy this. I do. I like to hang out all night. I like to do this. And people look at me and go, oh my God, Bill. It's like, yeah, man, he's a great musician, but he drinks too much. Yeah. Fuck you. I'm a great musician. I am. A great human being. Yes, I drink too much, so what? What? Am I gonna wind up any different than you? It'll be dust. That's the bottom line. It's calm. So I'm having a good time. I'm having a great fucking time.
Nous allons maintenant rendre visite à Floria, sur le plateau, dans sa ville natale de Toronto. Elle utilise l'énergie du cinéma vérité dans la production de vidéoclips et de télépubs. Son travail démontre jusqu'à quel point l'influence du cinéma vérité a dépassé les frontières du documentaire.
Reaching the millennium, I think a lot of people, I mean, in looking at fashion, art, whatever it is, a lot of people, and even films, a lot of people have kind of gone back to what we've experienced as a culture, you know, whether the fashions of the, you know, whatever, 60s, 70s, 80s, we've all kind of gone through them. We've reprocessed them twice now. And I think that, you know, trying to find the new visual language. That's why I think it's embraced, that kind of technique, the cinema verite technique. I've used handheld Bolex, also incorporating in a more kind of modern way, playing with the lens movement, and whether playing with the bellows or playing with, you know, taking a lens in and out, so you still have that kind of loose look. I think we're going to find a lot of younger filmmakers where it's a little bit more accessible. You don't necessarily need to go to film school to pick up a camera and shoot your own film, or I think it's going to be a little bit more of the everyday language for people.
Stinky weather, fat shaking hands, dopey morning dog grumping us. Little wonder then, little wonder, you little wonder you. Big screen dolls, hits and explosions, sleepy time, that's woman you. Little wonder then, little wonder, you little wonder you.
Feels good, doesn't it, the silence?
Terry McCartney-Fieldgate a renouvelé l'image pour la mettre au service d'une conscience sociale. Il a réalisé la majorité des films de la série Candid Eye dans les années 50. En 1960, il travaillait à Primary avec Drew. À bord d'un tramway à Toronto, il cherche à nous convaincre que les outils de la prochaine révolution visuelle sont déjà là.
Wobbly but real.
If one of the kind of great strengths of cinema verite was that you had access to sort of behind-the-scenes presidential campaigns, or to access to real people, we'll say.
With a little camera like this would have been wonderful on Primary or the Candid Eye, because you could have gone in with Kennedy or Humphrey or wherever you were, the Salvation Army. And been inconspicuous. Now, you know, you can, with this camera, see, I'm shooting somebody who doesn't know that he's being shot, but he does now, I think.
Do you think this kind of new technology then makes for more kind of democratization?
Wintonick said something wonderful. He was talking about high-8, but small cameras. He said it puts the tools back in the hands of the peasants. Because before, say, with film, you needed an awful lot of money, a lot of technical expertise, and great cost, the laboratory, you laying it out. One of these, you can shoot as much as you like, and so the peasant can take his, you know, the young guy, in other words, he meant, using the word peasant, can go out and shoot stuff, see if it's any good. And if it's any good, it's up to his artistry, not to the camera, really, once you've mastered quite a lot of little idiosyncrasies in this.
Supposing people had little mini cams when Jesus was crucified, would that help things much? I don't know.
Notre tournée des artisans du cinéma vérité nous conduit finalement chez Gillian Caldwell, la directrice de Witness. Cet organisme pour la défense des droits humains forme des militants partout dans le monde en leur enseignant à se servir de la réalité filmée comme outil de changement social.
We can't rely on conventional news broadcast or film production companies to bring us the reality that so many people are facing in disparate corners of the earth.
Witness fait écho aux meilleures innovations des premiers artisans du cinéma vérité, qui cherchaient à brancher les caméras sur le réel.
We're talking about connecting to people's emotions and to what people care about. Talking about getting away from papers and legal briefs and what the human rights movement has conventionally used to access halls of power and public constituents. We're really trying to use a new and more emotionally driven way to access people, to make them care. At the moment, we're actually working with a partner in Nigeria, the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People. And we've just put a feature online, which is a sort of a mini documentary on the World Wide Web with an associated advocacy component. And what we're doing there is documenting Shell and Chevron's involvement in Nigeria, their connections to the Nigerian military, abuses by private security forces, and more specifically by the Nigerian military, which has at various times been paid for by Shell and Chevron. These video features online, okay? These are groups that we're working with in Africa. I said in the situation they're going into, the presence of the video camera won't deter violence, it could encourage violence. We're not trying to create film production companies out of these activists. What makes the material unique is that it's raw, that it has an authenticity to it, and that they're in places that very few other people have access to at times when almost nobody else is there to witness what's happening. Get the framing nice so you don't have too much space over the head. Focus. Okay, and now I begin to walk.
Paparazzi.
Paparazzi.
Au cours des 40 dernières années, les auteurs du cinéma vérité ont révolutionné le documentaire. Ils ont rendu spontané et révélateur ce qui était théâtral et solennel. C'est cet héritage que nous a laissé le cinéma vérité.
This is into the new world, and we're making a website movie. It's something to play with.
But in this case, your audience is not going to be in a cinema, it's going to be on the internet, essentially.
On the internet?
The interesting thing is it doesn't have to end up on the screen.
No.
It can end up on the screen, on the CD-ROM, on the internet.
It's a continual, each one is a challenge, and it's a different kind of challenge.
And what model is this?
It's called the PD100.
Is this the perfection then of the ideals of cinema verite?
Well, for what we were doing, yes. But it also liberates you in many other respects.
And I was in conversation with Ricky only the other day, and he said,
to me, this is the most exciting point in the history of cinema.
None of this hour, 2-hour film. We should be just filming moments.
We've got the technology to make it for almost no cost. It's unbelievable. And you can make any kind of film this way.
The time will come where a 30-second or a 5-minute moment, you know, just as in literature, a poem is only half a page, maybe, but it'll be publishable.
You can do all the things that documentaries have never been able to do. But the deadly fear that television has of boring the audience for 1 second, because they might zap.
After all of these years, the two of us have come back to thinking anew and agreeing absolutely with what's necessary for the next step.
And I don't want to be a hidden eye. I don't want to be a spy. I don't want to be a creep. I'm just an old man with a movie camera.
Voilà, on peut grimper à l'échelle. Lorsqu'on monte dans une échelle, on doit toujours garder les bras tendus et poser les pieds au centre des barreaux. Et surtout, prenez votre temps.